Recording in progress.
We're back.
Yeah.
Oh man, feeling a lot like Bad Boys.
Mm. That means
How
we
y'all
on a
doing?
mission then.
Really though, really
That
though.
means we on a mission and we got a purpose and we not stopping till we get it. No
Talk.
circumstance. That's what I heard when you said that. That's what I heard.
And we got a fourth co-host today, and we got a fourth bad boy. Bad boys.
Let them
What
folks
you
know.
gotta do? What you gonna do when pivot and proceed on the fight?
So one, I just want to jump out the gate and say thank you, Bree, for being here. Bree's been one of like Zuri's day one, and I was saying earlier when we had a phone call, really pivot and proceed day one. Right when we just first started posting, we've just first started having conversation. She's like, that fire. Rumi said, "Set your life on fire and seek those who fan your flames." And Bree has fanned our flames since day one. Right? She's been that evidence of what we feel is real. Right? When we come to this space and what we do, when it's just you, and you're like, "Nah, I know we have something." Bree was that voice, that person, that light that's like, "Nah, y'all do." So to have her here in this space, in here with us, being a fourth co-host, not just a guest, it's a blessing.
Absolutely.
Welcome, Bree.
Hey,
Welcome.
thank y'all for having me.
And it's also something very beautiful to have someone in your corner, whether you are hella close or not, but having someone in your corner who understands a brand, who understands the vision, it almost gives you a sense of confidence, right? Validation isn't everything, but like you said, Tunji, you all met through this brand. You all met through, Bree supporting and showing her love and granting us flowers. And that is a beautiful thing, right? It gives when you're chasing or when you're walking in your purpose, when you're walking into your purpose intentionally, having individuals who tap in, it lets you know I'm not crazy. It lets you know that someone on the other end, whether they know you or not, needs it or wants it, which is also a beautiful thing. And when someone wants something, they might be led to know that now they need it, right? It's almost a gift that they didn't ask for or a gift that they tap into intentionally. So it's very beautiful to have someone behind the screen digitally next to you physically who likes to see you succeed, who wants to see a brand succeed, who wants to see something that they know is bringing intention in the world. With all this social media, with all this new AI, with all this new chat GBT, it is so beautiful to have physical bodies, physical minds, and physical hearts that come together and prevail this world on, or as we like to say, proceed this world on into a journey that some people need to hear. So again, and that's my welcome. That's my start of the podcast. Just really, I want people to understand that we might say, that we have day ones for this brand, but as we continue to elevate, it's so important to talk to that, but also understand that the other side of that is, having a good product and having great intentions and genuality behind it.
Let
And I
me
would say
pour,
you actually
let me pour my
Go
love
ahead.
on real quick. I want to be the additional layer. And again, I think, we're talking a lot about the love that she shows us, but the kind of person that she is, she's a very intelligent person, a very successful person, a very capable person. And so to give us attention signals value. Like that attention could go a million different places, right? But the fact that you chose to rock with us, is a testament to what we do, what we're here to offer. So grateful, eternally grateful for your attention, Bree, for your attention, listener. Grateful for where that could have gone, but instead you decided to tune in and tap into us.
Hey,
Greatness recognize greatness. That's all I gotta say.
Big facts, man. I want to say thank you guys so much for having me on, man. I'm happy that y'all kept moving, when you only had one person watching, when you only had one person listening, because sometimes it's extremely hard to keep going and you don't see any motion being made. Like, it seems like we're in the same place, like, and we're not getting anywhere, but people are noticing. People are taking notice. You got to keep walking. You got to keep moving forward, even when it doesn't feel like we didn't get that many likes on Instagram today. Like, only 2 people tuned in. Like, that's what makes the difference between the good people and the great people. The great people keep moving forward. The good people are just gonna say, hey, not today. I don't feel like doing it today. Consistency is what breeds greatness. You gotta be consistent. And you guys have been consistent from day one. So keep that motion up. Keep going. Like, you're seeing the motion slowly catch momentum. And you guys are moving. You're picking up energy. Every episode, people are recognizing y'all on Twitter, like random people on Twitter, like, oh, I'm listening to Pivot and Proceed. Okay. So yeah, y'all keep it moving, y'all keep the motion going, but it's important to have that support and have people that support you, because you might be down to your last and be like, man, I think I'm gonna call it quits. And somebody says, hey, I really appreciated that episode. And that gives you the little bit of juice that you need to keep going. It's essential. So it's a give and take relationship when it comes to support. Like, y'all are giving the people something and the people are giving you guys something. And it's keeping the relationship going. It's a give and take.
Actually, and that inspired me. You said it, Zuri. You said it as well, Bree. It inspired a question in me, because y'all know I'm big on community. Right now, I can't speak to it, but is it possible for someone to quote unquote make it, to quote unquote touch the dream without having someone in your corner? I think that you just don't see that person. But do y'all think it's possible to touch the dream and not have someone in your corner and never have someone fan your flames? Is it possible?
I'm going to jump off the porch, and because this was something that I prided myself so heavy on, the concept of being self-made. Like, to come from quote unquote nothing, right? And to be like, I made it. I'm against all the odds. Like this is just one big FU, right? You know, like they say that the best revenge is success. That was such that motivated me so deeply. And it was a part of my story that I would tell myself, is that, like, you know, I'm always going to choose the lone wolf path, or the path that nobody's walking, because I want to be self-made. Like, I want to be able to stand on mine and be like, I got here. And the second I actually started getting here, I had to look around and see how many other people were in the room. I'm like, damn, I'm not alone. Like, and I'm not mad that I'm not alone. I'm glad that I'm doing it with y'all. I couldn't do it without y'all. I tried. And there was a certain level of success, but then, like, you kind of get to a point where, like, one, I don't want to even win by myself. Like, who am I going to celebrate with? You know, like, I want to see other people win. But then the other part is that, like, you can't win by yourself. You just can't. Like, this life is not cut out for you to win by yourself. And maybe some people might disagree. Maybe some people be like, I really never had anybody in my corner. Like, I really had to go and get that thing by myself. But I feel like, even if you find yourself in a place where you're blessing other people, like, and they're winning because you're winning, like, we're winning. This is a community. Like, it doesn't really matter who got the win first, you know? And I feel like if you can break yourself out of that, then you will recognize that, like, hey, this is community. We're doing it together.
Hey, those are some great points. You want to go ahead, Zuri? Okay, so those are some great points, Kamau. So I took a couple things from that. Pretty much, when you do it by yourself, it's only a certain level you can reach in success before you need the help of others to get to that next level. And I like to use this example as far as marriage. A lot of people sleep on marriage because, like, 2 people coming together, it's way easier for you to do it together with somebody else, and you'll get way faster to the goal beforehand if you do it together. And there's an African proverb that says, if you want to go somewhere fast, go alone. But if you want to go somewhere far, you go together. So it's you reach your greatness in community. When you have people around you that are boosting you, that are supporting you, that are encouraging you, and you're feeding off their energy and they're feeding off you, it gives you the drive to go ahead.
And for me to hop in here, I think it was very valuable what both of you were saying. And to answer the question, Tunji, one, I think it's impossible, right? I think it's impossible to quote unquote make it, right? But first, I want to dissect what making it even means. Some people might think making it means being on the big screen, right? Where you're on this global stage and people are seeing you. Some people might see it as making that first $1 million. They've made it, they're done, right? But the thing about those is those are very empty and can feel very empty once you make it. You can set out a goal all you want, but one, God has the last say, right? And what you think might be your make it, there is something that might prevail you even further that you can imagine. And that's what you need a community for. That's what you need someone in your corner for. Because the fact that we can't even fathom, we can't even think what God has for us, because we're not supposed to. We're not supposed to know that grand plan. We're just supposed to follow that track, follow our heart, and listen to know which path we were made for. Because a lot of times we can be on a lot of paths because it feels good. We're getting paid a lot. You know, people are noticing me. But once you get on that path that your DNA was called for, you need someone in your corner. And to the listener that's listening right now, you might be asking yourself, you know, I don't have anyone in my corner though. You know, you don't have a lover, you don't have brother, sister. The beautiful thing about that is you can curate your own community. You can curate the community around you by genuinely, and I mean genuinely, tapping into who you are, tapping into your character, tapping into your love language, right? So really learning yourself can really prevail you to your community and your person. Also, I think it's impossible because even if you might not have that magic person in your corner, when you start inspiring others, there is someone on the other side of your words. There is someone on the other side of your teachings. And there is someone on the other side of you going into your purpose that needs what you're giving. And you don't know, that could be your person. And they might be shedding that energy as they're listening to you and understanding you for who you are. So I think there are a couple ways to look at that question. And I don't want people to get discouraged if you're listening right now and saying that you haven't found that friend or lover or you don't have a sibling to be in your corner. Sometimes that person can be individuals who are listening to you and genuinely giving you great feedback, genuinely, you know, wanting to be a part of your community. Sometimes you just have to change the way you look at it to make sure you have those people to keep moving forward.
No, that's solid. And what it brought, so the last point there, just to bring it home there, you said something really powerful is we get to curate our community, right? And I thought about that, like, set your life on fire and seek those who fan your flames. Like, the best way to get a good friend is to be one. So you start fanning other people's flames, and now you're like, you may be in that place, that's what you're supposed to do. But you're so focused on your fire that you forget, like, it's not about you right now. Right, you want to lead, but sometimes it's time to be that follower. Follow and fan that flame. Like, you know, let that man cook. Help that man cook. Help that woman cook. And all of a sudden, you wake up and you realize you a chef too. And now you really have a vision for what you want to cook. But I think sometimes we get so lost in being the chosen one. Right? It's me. That we forget, like Kamau said, it's always been us. It's always been us. That being said,
and the beauty about that, Tunji.
Go ahead.
The beauty about that, Tunji, is really you spoke to, and what I heard in that is you summarized the entire reason why we were put on this earth, why we have life, you know, breathed into us, is to help one another prevail on, to be there for one another, right? Once we're there for someone else, we can always help curate their story. The thing is, we have to take our ego out of it. And that was one of the first conversations we had together. Ego cannot exist in the same world when you are helping someone, right? Jealousy cannot exist, because that might be your assignment. That might not be your purpose, but that might be your assignment at that time, because you never know what you can learn by helping someone else. They might not have a person, they might not have a community, but you being yourself and you giving up your ego and you giving up your insecurity and you giving up your lack of self-worth, maybe that could be all lessons of how to still be you and how to still prevail on, but also lending a helping hand. Because once you help that individual get to their destiny, you never know how that can backfire on you to prevail you to where you need to be.
Kamau, what you thinking? Because I remember when we had that ego conversation, you were like, nah, you need that. You need that monster. So back of my mind is just itching, like, because I see you biting your nails, like, I don't think I'm giving my man go.
Let's get it.
What you thinking?
Hey, we about to turn up the debate tables. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I think both can be true. I really just think that it depends on the kind of person you are, and it depends on the kind of marathon you're running. And it depends on the leg of the race, because you know, it really just depends. You know, I had a good conversation with somebody last week, somebody very influential and successful. And I came with a list of questions like, yo, tell me this, tell me this, tell me this, tell me this. And his big thing was like, I'm non-prescriptive, meaning that like, I'm not going to give you a prescription on how to solve, like, this is exactly, even if it was the same race that I wanted to run, he was like, I'm not going to be prescriptive. Like, I'm non-prescriptive, meaning that I can give you a mindset that may help you. I can give you the mindset that I was thinking about, but I'm not going to give you the exact prescription, because it's not going to likely work out. And I think I'm still somebody who's trying to learn that, you know, like I'm a student of the game in the sense that I see something that I like and I want to really study it, and I'll pick it apart. I'm like, this gotta be the way it's done. But at the same time, like, the way that it played out for that person might not be the way that it's going to play out for you. And that's something that I'm still learning. So, you know, in terms of the ego, just to close it out, both, you know, like I need my ego sometimes. Like sometimes I need to be like, yo, you've got to fill this room. Like you're him, you're the chosen one. Like it's time to turn it up. Like it's you gotta be him. Otherwise you're letting other people down. But then there also has to be the conscious moment where it's just like, okay, are you being destructive right now? Like, are you being self-sabotaging right now? Is there another him in the room who is bigger than you? That's a hard one. That's a hard one to even acknowledge, you know? And it's like, give that man space to cook. Or is there a way that you can help that man? That, you know, these are things that aren't really talked about in our culture. It's like, nah, F him. Like, I'm him.
Yeah. That's real. That's real. F him. I'm him.
Yeah.
That's real. Bree, what you thinking?
Yeah, so pretty much what came to mind as far as the question you asked is pretty much, I feel like when we're walking in our purpose, when you're following that assignment, those people you meet in your life, they'll ultimately walk onto your path and they'll meet you right where you are, when you're ultimately walking in your purpose and walking on your path.
Have you had moments where you're like, I gotta let the ego go because this person that's on my path, it's like a mentor type role, or it's somebody that I need to figure out the next phase of my journey. It's helping them on theirs, and you've got to be like, let me chill out in what I'm doing.
Yeah, so I have had moments where like that with my current mentor. I had to like really humble myself to ask for help, even though I didn't think I needed any help to reach that next level. So I had to humble myself and really ask for help and let her know, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I see where you're at and I'm trying to get there. Can you please help me? And sometimes that can be difficult to do because, hey, you're already at this high level. yourself, and you're like, hey, I'm here. This is where I'm at. Then you meet somebody else that's like a little bit higher. You thought $10,000 a month was good, but you meet somebody that's making $100,000 a month. And now it's this thing where, oh, I'm really not her. I'm really not him. Like
Yeah.
I still got some work to do. So allow me to humble myself and walk in humility to ask for help so I can get to that next phase in life.
Yeah, well, that go ahead.
I mean, that's real spit, because it's like you got to acknowledge. I feel like that's the honesty piece, you know. And this is where I think the ego gets a little, you know, unproductive, is when you get delusional. You know, when you're not able to come to terms with, I'm not the best thing on the planet, you know, like that there is somebody else who is like, if I really matched up against them, they would sun me. Like they would just straight sun me right now, because the stats aren't looking good. Like, you know, their math is math and harder, or whatever your thing is that you're weighing up against, right? So I don't know, like, just for me, I'm a big student of the game. And I feel like to be a student of the game, you got to acknowledge that, like, there's somebody who's better than you. And I think what I love, what you said, Bree, is like being willing to ask, you know, just being willing to ask. Like, I love Kobe, and you guys know Kobe. Kobe is an ego monster. Like, Kobe's like, I'm going to like kill you, and nobody else is going to take the last shot. I'm going to take it. But at the same time, like, he was humble enough while he's on the court playing against somebody to be like, yo, how you do that? Like, what you just, you know, what was the, like, damn, that was cold. You know, like, there got to be a certain level of acknowledgement, you know, and I feel like really that is confidence to be able to have those kind of conversations. Like, you if you're just insecure, then you probably can't, you know. If you're having a hard time recognizing that in people, and seeing it and giving the flowers and asking, like, there's some insecurity there, and that's okay. But just be aware of it, acknowledge it, and try to work through it.
Yeah, there's also freedom in asking for help, and there's also freedom in honestly setting yourself up, knowing that you are her, you are him. But sometimes you might have to reframe that definition of what that means, maybe in that season, right? You're not where you want to be just yet, but you know there is a freedom in knowing where you're going, and knowing where you are setting yourself up for right now. And that gives you that open heart. It gives you that open mind to invite someone in who can prevail you to that next level, whether that's financially, spiritually, emotionally. Because I think a lot of people only talk about, you know, getting a mentor for financial reasons. But one thing I've learned is getting a mentor for someone who you look up to for an emotional state, who you admire their emotional intelligence, where you just want to pick their brain, right? You want to pick their brain of how they move through rooms when you've seen knives being thrown at them. You've seen how they've been, you know, conveyed and talked down on, it maybe in the boardroom, but you admire how they still stood 10 toes down. And you're like, I want to be that. I don't know your bank account. I don't know what your pockets look like, right? You're not the director here, but that doesn't matter right now, because your emotional intelligence is drawing me. You're a magnet right now. And I think, you know, adding those other areas of what a mentor can do for us can then prevail us, you know, to be able to make it 100K a month, because now I'm so emotionally stable that nothing can rock me off my pedestal. Zuri. And once I get there making 100K a month, I'm staying there, because no knives thrown at me, no devil with no horns can knock me off my pivot.
Zuri, you just blew my mind. The fact, when I tell you I've never, and I'm Mr. Community, and I've never thought about having a mentor for other than career and financial reasons. But it'd be like, you move different, and I need that. Let me pick your brain. Yes. So in real time, Bree, not necessarily asking you to be a mentor, but you said, ooh, 100K a month, I'm really not her. I'd say that mentality is dangerous when you switch it. It's like, I really am her because I was able to humble myself. Some people, they're going to stay at 10K forever because they're not able to say, I'm not really her.
Oof,
and being her is the fact that you will be able to humble yourself.
Oof.
Being her is like Kobe being him, saying, yo, you got this move and it's different, right? Can you teach me? Like paying homage. So that being said, hey, it's us. And when we always talk about us, we talk about culture. So Zuri, may I ask you to lead us into that first segment?
Let's get it. So for any first listener, the first segment is called Pivot into Purpose. In this segment, we invite the culture into our brand by the name of Pivot and Proceed. Once you continue to listen to us moving forward, a lot of times we talk about our own stories. We talk about how we've maybe been forced to pivot or how we've chosen to pivot, maybe in an industry or a new relationship, whatever may have you. But at the same time, once you pivot, you always need a moment to proceed on. So today we're going to talk about a guy who is undefeated in his sport right now and just had one of the biggest fights of his life, Gervonta Davis. He is undeniably one of the best fighters right now. But what a lot of people don't know about his story is how he actually pivoted into fighting. He was a foster kid for a little time when he was a young guy in his teenage years, I want to say. And he always found himself fighting in foster homes, right? He then moved to a new school. And if you know about grade school, once you move to a new school, you have to tell people that you are him, you are her. And some people choose the physical fights like Gervonta Davis did. He got into a lot of fights at his new school. And he had just left the fight and his uncle looked at him and he said, you know, you could do something with this fighting, right? And he was speaking of elevating his fighting skills to bring in money to take care of himself as a career as he got older. So Gervonta Davis took his uncle up on his offer, and he went to the nearest boxing gym, which was about 10 minutes from where he lived at the time. And this is the piece that really drew me in. Gervonta Davis said that boxing gym was really his new home. He had found home in that boxing gym. What was so powerful about that statement is because he was a foster kid. He was in foster care. And he said the boxing gym was his home. It felt like home. But to get to his purpose and to get to a purpose that felt like home, he had to go through foster care. He had to fight for his life almost every time he went to a new environment. So it's very beautiful how God can turn something so traumatic, something that maybe felt like he was abandoned at that time, but God always had a plan for him. He just had to show up as him to get to that point. So what I want to challenge my three co-hosts today with is really just letting this story fill you up. And if you three could talk to maybe your experience or what you have to say to anyone who has found home in their purpose, but it took them to find that childlike trauma within their purpose as they were pivoting into it.
Out the gate, what comes to my heart is realizing that I think about myself. I got in trouble all the time for talking too much, and now I'm a speaker. Right. And it reminds me of this. One of my favorite African proverbs says, an elephant isn't burdened by the weight of its trunk. An elephant isn't discouraged by the size of its tusks. And what it's saying is, if you ever seen a baby elephant, how clumsy they are. Mm-hmm. They trip over their own trunk, which is like another appendage for it. It's what makes an elephant an elephant. The tusk is what protects it. And what it's saying to me is, all of us, your burdens, until you figure out how to use it, it stays a burden. But it's supposed to become a blessing. As soon as you turn it into a skill, as soon as it's cultivated, you're like, this trunk was made for the elephant. But if it never learned how to use that trunk its whole life, it would feel like, I have this stupid trunk getting me in my way. When you use it to drink, when it's for life, when the tusk is there to protect you. So Gervonta Davis, with those hands that were getting him in trouble, now they're his biggest blessing. me with my voice, that naturally loudness, everybody talking, but I'm in class and they're like, Tunji. I'm like, everybody talking. They're like, but I hear you. Right? That was my life growing up. And now it's my greatest blessing. They're like, you need a mic? I'm like, nah, I'm straight. Let's cook. Right? So all it says to me is, ask yourself, what am I being burdened by that's naturally me? And the next question is, okay, this is my blessing. How do I cultivate it?
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what Tunji said, like when you take your trials and tribulations and you embrace them, nobody can use them against you. Nobody can make you feel insecure. Nobody can make you stoop down to their level because you have already accepted the fact that these are my trials and tribulations. These are my burdens. So I'm taking them and I'm fighting them head on, pretty much. And what comes to mind with me is Jeremiah 29:11. For surely I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future with hope. And so it's understanding that your mess will eventually turn into a message. Your test will eventually turn into a testimony. And so Gervonta Davis is just a wonderful example of that, and how God can use you to like really change your life around and show others the way.
This is a deep this is really deep. That was a deep question too. I think when you can find this, like let's just assume, you've gotten the first couple steps as Zuri and not Zuri, Tunji and Bree has talked about. Let's just assume that if you've got some momentum in the direction, I feel like the way that that you're in the right direction is based on how much heart you have. If or you will know that you are in the right lane of your life based on when you look around and you see everybody else and you see their stories and you see why they do this. If your heart beats that much harder, if it goes that much harder, where you're looking at other people and you're just like, why don't you go as hard as I do? Why don't you have the same level of intensity that I do with this? Like, why do you lack this? If you're asking those questions, if you're looking around, you're asking those questions, you are in the right lane because you have the heart for it. Like, and what you had to go through to get in that lane is what created that heart. Like you're a dog because of what you went through. And that's beautiful. Like that's a beautiful thing. And coming from somebody who loves that, like who wants to be a dog in the lane that I'm in, like this is the kind of person I aspire to be, is to find something that I love so intensely that I'm just like I want to be the best. Like if you feel that about the lane that you're in the right lane, and special things are to come if you stick with it. That's Gervonta Davis to me. Like to go through everything he went through and to find this lane, you can see it in this guy's eyes, when he talks, the interviews, the way he fights. Bro has heart. He doesn't have size. He has a lot of other things, but he has heart. Heart could take you so far. It's the difference between good and great. It's like that extra edge, man. It comes from your heart.
And Kamau, you had me over about to throw the computer, because when you were talking, the question or word that kept popping into my head is your why. A lot of times people always focus on the how, they focus on the what, but that why question is really the root of knowing also that you're on the right path, or that at least you're walking down the right path, right? And what you said was just really firing me up, because every time I think about what I want to do in life, money never comes across my mind first, at least. But my why is so deep that like I get butterflies in my stomach. My eyes get watered. And I can only think about Gervonta Davis' why, of even what I think it is, just off of this one story that he decided to tell. You don't know the secrets that's still on his heart. You don't know any other things that he also went through that's a part of his why he boxed. But just for this one example, the why is so deep rooted in being a foster child and having to fight your way to prove yourself as a little boy. You know what I'm saying? Like that one why could be deep rooted in so much pain and so much passion that he has no other option but to have everything else drift away to put his heart into this craft. And we see it with his skill, right? So, you know, if you're, just to wrap this up, if you're a listener, man, just continue to ask yourself why you're doing something. And I hope that, you know, you find the roots of your why to lead you down, and you have a legacy that you leave behind, whatever your definition is, right? To leave your footprint in your craft that you created, to leave your footprint in that community that you're curating around why God put you on this earth.
Oh, that segue is so nasty. Because Zuri, as she was talking to the listeners, Kamau been talking to some listeners too. And that leads us perfectly into Kamau's segment.
Get it.
Talk to him.
Let's get it. This segment is called How Should I Proceed? And it's where we open up the conversation to make sure that we're having a two-way conversation with this community we're talking about, and that we're tapping into y'all in the stories, in the pivots and proceeds that you're going through. I mean, every time you think about, you know, this lifestyle, this choice of pivoting and proceeding, it is happening so many times in each of our individual lives. And the purpose of this segment is to showcase and to allow somebody who wants to share their vulnerability for us to kind of to talk about, and hopefully pull out a gem, go through a situation that somebody else who is listening could benefit from it. So we have a submission from a listener. I'm going on 30 years old, and I still live with my mom. I feel like a boy. I want to help my family, but I can't. I don't have the financial ability to do it. Plus, I have too much self-doubt, and I'm dealing with my own mental battles. If I was able to help out my family, I'd be happier, just in general. My mom, my sister, my dad. I want to help my mom with her business and allow her to take things a little easier at her age. My sister, I don't know where she's at. I don't know where my own sister is. I want to help my dad too. I just want to sit down and talk and just be like, it's all good. Nobody wants to talk. I just feel like teleporting off of Earth. How should I proceed?
No, I personally, I'll go in and I'll say the word that comes to mind for me is humility. Right. And I think about just not even, what was it, year before last year? I'm grown. I was 31 and I had to move back home with my mom. Right. Going through a divorce, going through all types of stuff. And that feeling of humility is different. Right. It's different. When you sitting here, and especially you sitting in the person's house who's already giving you so much. You feeling like I'm back to ground zero and really feeling like nothingness. And the word is humility, and then using it to your advantage. I start looking at what can I do now that actually benefits my mother. If I can't give her money, what can I give her? She's not washing those dishes at the end of the day. I'm doing that. She's not cleaning the floor. I'm doing that. I'm doing the little things that I can do, right? And then letting them know I'm doing this because I love you. I can't do this yet, but this is what I plan on doing. And I start speaking into things into existence, where I start cultivating that vision. But I also don't put myself above the little things in the house that I know matters, that have mattered since I was 8 years old, that have mattered since I was 6 years old, that I took for granted when I was that age, that I didn't do it with a smile. I think the greatest thing you can do is start clicking on all cylinders for you, start eating right, start taking care of yourself extremely well, and have it be contagious. And as you do that, I found that people come to you. When you are light in a place where it makes sense to be darkness, they know how you feel it. They know how you feel it. And once you start turning yourself into light by really taking care of yourself, all of a sudden your dad's talking to you like, what's going on with you? You look a little bit different. right? Your sister starts coming to you for advice, for perspective, because you've made light, not because you made money. A lot of people can make money, but to make light in darkness, you different. And I challenge you to be different. I challenge you to be different.
Whew. First of all, this speaker is hot. Like, it is definitely smoke coming out this speaker. To hop in, I've been waiting to hop in. That, first of all, that submission is so powerful. It's so needed. A lot of people can relate, and a lot of people are probably right here, right now, because Zuri Mabry is what was in that predicament where I didn't know how to deal with moving back home, and I'm still at home, right? And oh man, where do I even start? The first word that popped in my head, well, two words, is right now. That's all I heard when you were reading that submission, Kamau. Because after a while, if you've ever experienced being a grown ass person, and in my case, I chose to move back home, right? So that's me in the mirror that I had to deal with, that I chose to do this. And then, as I talked about on season 1, some trauma happened with me moving back home where I was pissed that I even chose to move back in this environment. But what the most beautiful thing that I learned is you have to figure out, what can I do right now to learn and prevail on? I can't think about where I want to be. I can't think about where I just was, right? You have to think about wherever you're sitting in that moment. Sometimes you physically have to look around and say, what can I do right now to be at peace? What can I do right now to create my own freedom? What can I do right now to learn a lesson that God has been trying to show me? And in my situation, there were so many reasons why I had to move back home. Because a lot of times you can run from trauma. You can run from environments that you grew up in where it just feels comfortable to go learn a new place. It feels comfortable to just get away, right? And a lot of times you have to really sit down and say, right now, I need this peace. I need to create my own peace. I need to learn how to create freedom, because obviously the definition that we sometimes create of freedom or peace is not what's intended for us to continue to live on. So to wrap this up, you have to figure out, what right now can you do? And like you said, your parents don't want to talk. But the most beautiful thing about that is, a lot of people don't want to talk until they see someone genuinely cares, until they see that someone sees them without them even have to say a word. So even though they might have said they don't want to talk, still, I would say, still try to, reach out and just be relatable. Like, sometimes that's all you have to do. Just be relatable, be yourself, and create that peace within yourself, because that's easy to attract to. That's easy to, receive emotional maturity and emotional mentorship, as we were just speaking of, from someone that you see it in. So, staying down, 10 toes down in the right now, and finding that emotional maturity that you see your family around you need in that environment.
Yeah, so just to piggyback off of what Tunji and Zuri said, like Tunji said, like, everything doesn't have to be monetary. Like, it doesn't have to be money related. Like, you can do the dishes, like, you can take out the trash, you can help out around the house, and that would be beneficial. And that would actually open up the door to have those conversations. It'll make it a lot easier. Like, oh, thank you so much for taking out the trash. How was your day? So it opens up those lanes of communication. And as you're doing this, all you have time to do is focus on the present. You can't harp over the past, and you can't think about the future. You have to be present in the moment to really understand, like, hey, this is where I'm trying to go. How do I get here? Like, why am I here? And a lot of times we come to realize, like, we'll find these lessons repeating in our life, and until we understand the lesson that we're trying to learn, we'll keep recycling that same experience
Right.
over and over and over again. So what's the lesson I'm trying to learn within this situation? Where am I trying to go? So my advice as far as pivoting out this situation to your next move would be pretty much to really sit down, be aware of who you are and where you're trying to go. And how can I help the people around me? Because while you're in your own funk and thinking about, oh, this is where I'm at in life, the people around you are in that same situation. So how can we help each other get to where we're trying to go?
I'm gonna start with the adage, and my adage is success leaves clues, or success leaves footprints. Um, if you feel lost, there is somebody out there who you admire. Whether you feel lost or you don't, actually, there is somebody that you admire, and one of I think I often have to remind myself of that, is that success leaves clues. Confidence aside, let's just assume that you got confidence about yourself. If you do have confidence, then there's really not a big difference between you and a person who's successful. Like, if you have the confidence, there's not a big difference between you and the person who's successful. They just figured it out. They just found a path that worked for them. They just kept working at it until they found success. Confidence is the first key. So if you can get that, then the rest is really just about being a student of the game. It's really just about learning, like, okay, this is the path that this person took. How can I align myself with a path that's going to look like this? Or this is the path that this person took. How can I align myself with a path that's going to look like this? And what's likely going to happen is you're not going to take any one of their path directly. You're going to take your own path, but you are going to have a model to follow, and that is so important. Like not trying to navigate yourself out of a situation where you feel like you're lost. If you feel like you're in the middle of the sea and you have no direction, like it's extremely hard. But one of the best ways to develop that map is really just to think about the things that inspire us, to think about the people who we want to be like, to think about the lifestyle that we want to have. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors out here, especially on fucking Instagram. There's so many people capping about this and that and the third. But what I will say is the people who genuinely inspire you, not the influencers, not the people who are selling you the 199 course, but the people who really inspire you. I feel like you got to continue to remind yourself that success leaves clues. That what they did is not a mystery. It's not something that you can't do. It's something that you can do. It's just about continuing to study and then mapping those clues out to your own life, and allowing yourself to take that path. I want to just real quick put my heart out, also because of the family piece, and I know how it feels as a man, to feel like you can't take care of your responsibilities. I know what it feels like, to question your identity as a man, because that's what our society is based on. That's what we've been conditioned to believe in, and that's not a bad thing. But it's just when you're not able to do the thing, you question everything. So thank you for opening up, for being vulnerable. You're not alone. All of us on this panel, I think, on this podcast have dealt with this, but I'm sure scores of other people are dealing with this. Like, we're in it. So I just appreciate the vulnerability.
And I just wanted to add one more thing within the spirit of vulnerability. My mom's my person, and I've said for about 13 years at this point, like, yeah, I got her. Right. And it's 13 years later, and I still don't have her like I want to have her. And it hurts to even say that out loud. For that to be one of the dreams you haven't fulfilled it. And I'm turning 33. And I'll say this, I'm saying it to you just as much as I'm saying it to me. Bruce Lee said, don't fear failure, not failure. In great attempts, even failure is glorious. I'm saying you're him because you're not willing to stop chasing it. to stop trying to figure out, right? That's what makes you him. The fact that said, I'm going to try and find a way when other people would have quit already, right? To stick with the dream that long. So what I'm saying is don't be like, okay, I tried it one time. Took out the trash one time and they didn't respond how I wanted to. It didn't open up a conversation. You are him because of the attempt, right? Do it for you, right? Sometimes failure is success, which is wild, right? Like when I was teaching my students, you have to love them beyond the point where it made sense, where it would make sense to reject you and stop showing you love, and then you keep going, and then they open up. But you have to do it because it's who you are. So again, I'm saying it just as much to you as I'm saying it to me. Don't fear failure. In fact, chase it. Because in great attempts, even failure is glorious, and may all of us be glorious.
And I want to hop back in too, because with this listener submission, it's very, when you're in this predicament, maybe moving back home, it's very easy to lay down your burden and to continue to replay over in your head how much of a fuck up you feel like you are for moving back home, or how much of a, failure, like we were saying. And when I first decided to move back home and some things went left, I was obsessing over that this was such a mistake. I was obsessing over the choices I made that led me to, move back in with my folks. But the more I paid attention and only thought about that quote unquote mistake I made, I cluttered my judgment of what I could learn or of who I was helping. Because a family member just the other day looked me in my eyes and said, "You have saved a little piece of me just by moving back home. I know you're grown." And they said, "I know you're grown and I know you have your own life, but you don't know what you've done for me in these 2 years. And without you moving back home, I don't know where I would be." And in that moment, it felt almost like a whisper, because it was so soft, it was so gentle, and I can tell that vulnerability was weighing on that individual. And that if I hadn't moved physically back home, I probably never would have known that something was weighing so heavy on them. And also, even if, your family might not say anything, even though you move back home with them, if you pay attention and if you sit in, even silence and just think about how the energy is, you can feel when someone needs you. So you showing up for that person and for those individuals who you say might not want to talk, if you feel led to, again, be gentle and intentional about opening up. But just don't harvest and stay in the past of, you feeling like a F up or you feeling like a mess up for moving back home. It's so much beauty in your environment right now. You just have to find it. It's like a needle in a needle stack almost. Like you just have to find that one needle, which is that one reason why you moved back. And you're going to find that needle. I don't know how long it's going to be before you find it. But once you find it, it's going to feel like freedom. And you're going to know that your next step and your next level will now be handed to you because you did your assignment. You completed your assignment.
That analogy is so cold. Looking for a needle in a needle stack, but there's one there for you. You sticking your hand in, getting pricked every time. And a lot of people are like, you know what? Even if it's a needle in there for me, F it. Nah. Like, it is what it is. You should have given me a haystack. Yep. But when you do find it, like you said, it's freedom. And all those other pricks by those needles, it meant something. And what it really feels like, I feel like that's the perfect analogy for talking about failure, for favorite failures. That's our third segment, and that's what it is. Looking for a needle in a needle stack, right? All the struggles, like the thing, and that's why we call it favorite failures, because you have to dig into sticking your hand in that stack of needles when it was really a failure, when you felt that pain. And then that feeling of now a favorite. I found that needle that I was supposed to find. So that's what this is, the favorite failures. And Bree, would you do us an honor of opening us up with your favorite failures or a few of them or however you feeling?
Gotcha. So my favorite failure would have to be the day I miscommunicated with my barber. So I went on this journey. Yeah. So I went on this journey of like becoming debt free. So I paid off like $63,000 in a year and 2 months, right? So I told myself like at the end of that journey, I was gonna cut off all my hair as a symbol of me being free, like being free, the shackles of debt are off me, and I'm just gonna start over. So I paid off the debt. I went to the barbershop. I was very conservative. I had grew out my hair, so I had a little fro, did it. But the next time I went, I told myself I was gonna start fresh. I was gonna cut it all off. Now, what I wanted was not what I got because hey, I thought I knew barbershop lingo. Did not know barbershop lingo. So I wanted like some on the top, faded on the side, and that's not what I communicated because I had no idea how to translate that or communicate that to my barber. So I tell him what I want. He ends up cutting all my hair off, clean off, and I'm seeing all my fro on the ground, and I'm feeling the clippers on my scalp. At this point, I'm like, oh my god, like,
gave you the boosie
I really
fade.
I really just did something I didn't want to do. So I walked in the barbershop feeling like a winner, and I left feeling defeated. Like, because this is a whole new look for me. This is not what I wanted. I left feeling defeated. So in that moment, in that particular moment, I didn't realize it at that point, but I see it was planted that day because I emerged a whole new person. Like I finished this one journey and I started the beginning of a new journey to really embracing who I was as I planted the seed to grow into this person I was destined to be. So I would definitely say that was one of my favorite failures. Even in the miscommunication, it turned out to be beautiful on the journey I went on from like actually seeing my hair grow from my scalp and like really making all these integral moves to becoming the new person that I was after finishing paying off my debt.
Tell me this. So at what point did you transition from feeling defeated to I'm glad this happened?
Okay, so I wallowed in it a little bit, like a couple of hours. Like, out here, this is not it. Okay, so I wallowed in it a couple of hours, and I'm like, man, I cannot stay in this position. Like, we're gonna have to embrace it at some point. So I would say it was a couple of hours, and then I was like, man, it kind of does look good. And then I had people like, oh, that looks great on you, like, and I needed that. I needed them to validate it at that point because I couldn't validate it for myself at that point because I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it. So they ended up seeing it in me before I was able to see it within myself. So I was very appreciative for the support of the new cut. But yeah, I wallowed in it for a little bit before I was actually like, hey, this is it. This is it. Like, it's not gonna be like this forever. And embrace it right now because you only gonna make yourself look worse if you just keep wallowing in it. Like, why are you looking like that? Smile. Like, we here now.
Ooh, I love it. Says smile. We here now. That actually leads me into, I'll jump in with a similar favorite failure. Not necessarily with hair, but aesthetic. So I'd done a lot of traveling. I went to Nigeria, right? And then I came back and a lot of temperature changes. And then I was in, where was I? Utica, Michigan, right? And then it's another temperature change. And Friday, so I was speaking, I did hella speeches that week, a dumb amount. And I was in my routine. I was in my bag, fasting in the morning, working out, wasn't eating till later afternoon, like clockwork. And then Friday morning, I got comfortable. I ate earlier in the day when my body was used to one thing. And instead of my body just focusing on immunity, it was digesting food. And all of a sudden, my lips start itching. And then I get one cold sore. And I'm like, it's not that deep. I'll be straight. Then I get another cold sore on my lip. Long story short, in 24 hours, I had 7 cold sores on my face. And I had a week of speeches to give. Right? So, and from high school, when I got cold sores, fever, your lip is looking crazy. You don't even want to go to school. You don't want to go outside. You know you're going to get flamed up. And I'm going to middle schools. I'm going to high schools. And I want to say, like, yeah, I had the courage to stand in front of them with my lip all flat. No, I wore a mask. And people think it's about COVID. Like, nah, my face look crazy under here. Right? So I'm out here looking dumb. But why it's a favorite failure is I realize when I'm speaking how heavily I lean on my smile, right? That endearing, like, I can sell you with it. And this is one of the first gifts I realized in life. As a young Black boy, when I wasn't smiling, people would ask me, why are you angry? The second I smiled, the world opened up to me. And if I don't give anything else, I give energy. And my go-to was ripped away from me. So I had to figure out, are you still him with a mask on? Can you still get it across with a mask on? When you don't have your bread and butter, when you can't do the layup, when you can't go right and you got to go left, can you still cook? And 5 days, we had to figure it out, and we did, right? And what really solidified it, I was riding in the car with somebody today and said, oh, yeah, your video from last Monday, I sent it to a teacher, and it got us another booking. And I was like, wait, last Monday? That was one of my first ones with the mask on. And I was like, yeah, I'm him. I'm him with the mask, right? Because you don't know. You give your best, you just put yourself out there. Like you said, Bree, don't wallow, we here now. So I was like, I'm in this moment, we here now, deliver. And then to find out that your bread and butter can be taken away and you can still deliver. Because it's not about you. So that's why it's one of my favorite failures. I feel you. I feel you.
There is so much in that story that I have to say. But for time's sake, I think what really stood out to me in that story is when you said your bread and butter was taken away from you. Thankfully for just a split second, right? A couple days. But there is something deeper in that statement. Because a lot of times when God gives us our purpose and when we actually realize what it is and we start walking in that true purpose, I feel like sometimes we're so happy we found it and we're having a great time. And like you said, we've gotten comfortable, we cooking, I'm inspiring people. And then God says, oh, I have something else for you. Because I really want to see, do you truly believe that you belong there? Have you really gained that muscle, that emotional muscle, that mindset, that heart muscle to know that if something you were comfortable with is taken away in a split second, can you still do what he tells you to do? Can you still show up and give your heart, right? Without being validated, right? With looking different than other people, right? And in this example, there have been athletes that thought they were in their purpose, that knew they were, and their physical abilities have been stripped away from them. And they have to find an entire new thing. They have to pivot to an entire new thing that's for them. So I think I want the listeners, and I hope what they got from your favorite failure, Tunji, or one of the things is what I'm saying right now. Even if what you thought, and that's another thing, right? Tunji, you think that was your bread and butter. But a lot of times, sometimes things have to be stripped away for us to see other bread and butters that we have.
Sure do.
Can I say something different? Can I, with this mask on, can I still make someone feel like they're them, right? Can I still make a young girl in middle school or another young Black boy for you, Tunji, know that they're going somewhere and that they're powerful, even with a mask on? And sometimes too, this is the other thing. With that mask, the physical mask you had on, a lot of people wear invisible masks that we don't even see while they're walking into rooms. While they're trying to pivot into their purpose, they have an invisible mask, and they just don't know how to take it off because they've gotten so used to showing up with an invisible mask that what they think is their bread and butter of maybe how they dress on the external or the shoes they have or how their hair is, whatever it may be. But once they take off that invisible mask, God really shows up now. and shows them that your heart is what matters, right? Your emotional, strength, your empathy is what matters, is what is going to get you to your purpose. So to wrap this up, to any listener, whether it's a physical mask or invisible mask, one day you have to take that mask off. And you have to show up as yourself with no boundaries, with no shelter. You have to.
Oh, that mic is hot and the floor is open. So if anybody else got something, please. We love it.
My favorite failure is a family failure, and it was a lesson, and it is an ongoing lesson. It's actually a life lesson. And it's about generational curses. And one of the things that has become very clear to me after spending a week with my family dealing with some medical stuff, and just talking, going through some of those stories, talking about some of those relationships, talking about the different life experiences. You know how easy it is to just disconnect from a family member, and you're doing life and they're doing life and somebody else, and everybody's just kind of doing. And one of the things that is very common in my family is family members like exiling each other out, or just completely ejecting from the family and not wanting. And this has been really a thing that is most prevalent in the women in my family, and then in terms of the men in my family, there's a lot of narcissism. And what has just been fascinating to me, one of the lessons is that, like, while chosen family is a powerful thing and I believe in it, there are some components of the family structure that we can't control. Like, they're literally baked into our DNA. You didn't choose your family, but there's just like, there's components that come with it, that come with this bloodline. And it's so crazy to me that even though you didn't choose this experience, like nobody told me to act like this. Something about the DNA that I come from has programmed this in me. And I'm carrying out a similar thing that's happened in my family for generations. You might be unconscious of it because you might not know your family history, but it plays out, and it's crazy that if we don't stop, take a moment to really, like, see how things have played out, we're going to continue to repeat the cycles. We do it so unintentionally. And for me, just kind of looking at my family, it's sad, it's sad that these same cycles have played out. But where the exciting part is that, like, every generation you get a chance to break it. So the favorite failure is embracing the ugliness of the family, but choosing to be the one to break it.
That's dope. That's real. That's one of those moments where I think you're all breathing. You start thinking of your family, like, what am I playing out, right? What have I broken already? What am I trying to break? It's like, I just look around the room, like, and everybody's in their own head, like, yay! Like that's one of those that we all have to sit down and reflect on.
If I could just add one last tip, is to have those conversations. Have the conversation with your family members. And I feel like as 10 years ago, the young me, I didn't care. I'm like, I don't care. What does their life have to do with mine? Like, I'm living mine. Let me just live. I don't want nothing to do with y'all. No offense. But what y'all are doing really doesn't impact what I'm trying to do. I'm on a mission. Yeah. 10 years later, I feel differently. 10 years later, these conversations matter. 10 years later, I'm having these conversations and I see patterns that nobody taught me, patterns that just got passed down through my blood. And what I encourage people is just to have those conversations. You know, the earlier submission, they talked about not wanting, nobody wants to talk. That's the problem, but somebody has to be the one to initiate the conversations. Somebody has to be the one to like put those dots together. Like, damn, this thing just keeps happening. How does it keep playing out like this? Nobody's teaching us to fuck each other over. Nobody's teaching us to cut each other off. How does this keep playing out? We don't know, but what we do know, like, it comes from the conversations we have, comes from the things we learn. And when you have knowledge, you have power.
Yeah. I think also, I definitely agree about having the conversations. But something I've dealt with in my family is when one person is conscious enough to understand, one, what a generational curse is, two, what their individual family's generational curse is. But what if your family members aren't emotionally there to even know that there is a curse going on? You said the two words earlier, Kamau, the chosen one. I believe that there are chosen ones in families who were born literally to break generational curses. And one way to know if you are that individual, if you always feel like something can be improved, you just see different details within your family where you're like, that's not right. That's not okay. And it takes you a while because, of course, your frontal lobe first has to develop, right? You become an adult and you start to see patterns, like you said, Kamau. But I just want to say, like, I commend you. I've been there and I'm there. I'm having conversations with about one or two family members, and it's always an eye-opening moment for them that I'm in my 20s and I'm able to fish out different, generational habits, as you can call them as well. But you also have to have family members. Like the question is, what happens when you want to break those curses, but most of your family members are clueless. They're aloof. They're oblivious, right? And a lot of times, I feel like the generation, like baby boomers and even before, sadly, they're so oblivious. They're like, nothing's wrong with the family. Like, this is just how it is, right? So you have to be strong enough mentally and emotionally to still know that this isn't just how it is. This can be changed. And at the same time, start that change, even if it's small baby steps of, only talking to the family members who get it. They just need guidance and they just need help to walk that walk with you. You only need one or two. And from my personal experience, it can start with one person, but as they start to see a level of consciousness, maybe they'll be motivated to at least, start to see what the problem is too. But I definitely get it. And it's hard. It's not easy. You have to be very vulnerable. I have cried many, 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 many times with a few family members of just me wanting to get things right and me wanting to understand, why narcissism is so alive in so many, individuals and what that means for family members and the trauma that you didn't even know existed until you get older. And that's what hurts. When you get older and you start to realize, I think this way because of this, and you want to change it so bad, but the person who you need to go to isn't even emotionally there to even know that it's a problem. That's hard.
And what it all brings my mind to, and I guess I'm amazed. I don't know if this is making it darker, but I know it's making it real to me. Is like we talked about this, Bree, right before we hopped on, right? As far as I look at it like this, we stand on the shoulders of giants. That narcissism is how you got here. With the struggles that they had to live through, you see the world in this way because they had to have a certain mentality to get us to this point. And now you're the chosen one because you see. And there's an African proverb that says, only a fool praises the fruit of a tree and not its roots. right? So when we were talking about it before, some problems take 3 generations to knock out. And you're the first one to see it. And you may not get to see the fruit of the tree change, but you become the roots that start changing the actual tree. Then that second generation, your kids, they start to cook. And that third generation, they're eating fruit. And now they look back at the roots and they see where it started to shift. But you are the first in 3. And you just got to have that, like we talked about earlier, Kamau, you got to have that dog to say, even if I don't get to taste the fruit change, I get to be part of the roots that start to change. And that, I look at that as the long game, right? Like you don't get, but I do think there's light. And there's another African proverb that says, the wise will always find a way. I don't know a way to change somebody's mentality that they've had for 50 years. And you're benefiting off of their mentality. You're benefiting off their narcissism, right? They had this mentality and it got you here. It came with drawbacks, but you're part of the sweet fruit that produced it. So I don't know how to separate those things and get somebody like that right, but I say the light is the wise will always find a way. And I think there's a wisdom in never stopping to try and figure it out, not giving up on that family member. Like we talked about, like there's glory in that attempt and chasing that failure.
Yeah, and just to add, like, as far as my family dynamic, I'm like the golden child. Like when I talk, everybody listens. And that has created some resentment among family members because now we're at a point where we're comparing that person to me. And it does nothing to help that person when you're comparing them to me because we are not the same person. What I'm thriving on is not gonna be what they're thriving on. Like what I got going on is not gonna help them get to where they got going on. So having those open conversations to really be there to apologize for, hey, I'm sorry that you were compared to me. I never wanted that to happen, but how do we move forward? How do we have that open conversation? And then opening the conversation to like what boundaries are. Because a lot of times within my family or within like Black people in general, like boundaries get crossed all the time. And it's like, hey, that you shouldn't have said that. Like that was crossing the line. Like how do we have that open conversation and where it's not being disrespect, but I'm just letting you know, like, hey, this is a boundary that shouldn't be crossed when it comes to having that conversation with that person. But just everything that everybody has said on the panel as far as family has been real. And thank you guys for being open and vulnerable because that's how we make progress, by being open and vulnerable and being raw and letting people know what it actually is and not walking on eggshells. Because a lot of times we walk on eggshells and it kind of just gets swept under the rug. And we got to do something. When you want to make a change, you got to be the change. So it has to start with you. If it doesn't start with anybody else, allow yourself to be the first way maker. Be like, hey, it ends with me. This ends with me. And it's even been a case where I've been talking to my dad and like I can see the generational curse. Like my grandpa and my grandma, the same way they broke up, it's the same way my dad and my mom broke up. Like it's a cycle. It's a cycle. And until we actually realize, hey, this is what really happened, and we can say, hey, this is what you don't want to do in the next generation. So it's having that open conversation and being willing and being vulnerable and being honest with people. Sometimes the truth hurts, but hey, the truth is the only safe ground to stand upon. Everything else is gonna fall and crumble.
Ooh. And that truth, that rawness, that authenticity, that leads us perfectly really into glows and grows, right? Because that's what it is. When we really get personal and we say, okay, what's glowing for me right now? What's growing? What do I need to grow in? Or what is growing, just however you look at it. And then what's the soundtrack to it? So I'll kick us off with my glow is I told myself I'm getting back to the basics. Like 6 drops to flow state. I've had a lot on my plate, and I just know if I get back to my simple routines, the thing that I've been talking over is so funny. Like when I'm giving advice, I'm really talking to myself this entire time. So my glow, I've been saying it to like the advice that we had to the guests and how do I proceed was for me too. Getting back to the basics, making my bed, doing my early morning workout, stretching, right? Doing the things that I do. And afterwards, I look at myself like I'm him. Be consistent. And today was the first day where I really cooked that all the little things that I said I'm going to do, I've done them. Right. So that's my glow. Just getting back to the basics. And my grow is I'm trying to get like Bree. I'm trying to knock out this debt. Like asset recovery be calling me, and I'm like, chill, we don't go together no more. Right. So so I'm trying to get right. Right. So I was thinking about what she said, like cut off the hair, and I'm already bald, but I was thinking about the beard. Like I don't even know what my jaw look like anymore. So
Hey, yo.
I don't know if I can commit to it. Like I'm thinking, like, but is that what it takes? Right? To be free? So that is my growth, sitting and reflecting on that, like really taking serious about like, yo, in a year's time, I want to be able to say like $50,000 in debt, gone, 55 gone, 60 gone. Like so that's my growth. Like this time next year when we talking again, like I'm talking like Bree, talk to me nice. I was in the barber shop, like, you know what it is. You look into a debt-free, you can let a debt-free brother. You look at it like do something with these grades. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but a year from now, I want that growth to be like, this was a shift. On the soundtrack to it, I've been heavy on Lil Wayne Drought 3 mixtape. All of it, top to bottom. Bless yourself with that. Seat down low. Sky is the limit. You know, you already know. Prime Lil Wayne. Prime Lil Wayne, where it's different. Where don't hop on the same, don't put a beat out this fire if you don't want to suffer the consequences. Right. So just there's something about that mixtape that takes me to a different time, because Lil Wayne was in a certain mentality. Right. He said the best rapper alive. This ain't an album. I'm doing this for free, and you're going to know what time it is. You're going to know what time it is. There is nobody that's doing this same craft as me that can't get the smoke. Right? So it's really a mentality. So and I think that's what you feel when you hear that mixtape. So like that's the mode. That's the mode. It's real mentality heavy.
I'll hop on in. A little vulnerability moment. Grows and Glows is the most difficult segment of the episode for me, because it's literally looking in the mirror and telling the world what I need to grow up in, or, you know, what I need to do. So for this week, I'm going to group my grow and glow together. And I am really proud of myself of how I have become my own anchor. I have found ways to keep myself grounded mentally and emotionally. I'm really heavy in that. I obsess over being emotionally mature and emotionally intelligent. And I have, and with that obsession and with that growth with my emotionally intelligent, individuals have been coming into my life that I just needed. They speak my language. They speak my love language. It's like we're on the same frequency, same vibration. And it just happens at the most random times. And that's the beauty of it. I'm not looking for the conversation, but God just know I need that conversation right now at this moment. And the beauty about that is sometimes you can open up into a conversation that was just fun to start with, and it ends up being an entire revelation, right? It ends up being this light bulb moment. And I've been blessed. The more intentional I get about raising my vibration and raising my awareness emotionally, that people have just come into my path where we just think the same. And I'm not even going to say feel the same, because feelings are fleeting, but I have really become my own anchor, and I'm just very proud of myself for that. I've learned healthy coping mechanisms, like just anchoring myself and grounding myself and staying 10 toes down every day, and just walking around with my eyes and ears and heart open, right? But guarding my heart, but My heart is open though. And if you come with genuine intentions and genuine actions, because I'm vibrating so high, I can read out fluff. Like I can read out narcissism. Like I can read out, genuality. And I think that is success. That is success to me. Like that's a form of success. And the fact that I taste that success is so sweet. It's savory and sweet at the same time. My song to my growing glow is actually a song by the name Anchor. The song is named Anchor, and it's by Madison. And it's so beautiful. Like if you've been on Instagram, you've probably heard it. But the lyrics are just talking about being grounded in love and grounded in who you are and grounded in your character. And the melody just fits the pocket of where that song takes you. And by the time you finish the song, it's like you're asking the question, do the people in my life, are they my anchor or am I my own anchor? And I think that's a question that we all have to, think about. And we should want to think about that. So that's my grow and glow.
All right, so I'll jump on in. So my glow for today, this week, this month, I'm not big on talking on the phone. I do not like talking on the phone at all. I'm more of an in-person type person. And so I've come to realize in my life, like I'll pick up something and I might not have all the pieces for what I just picked up. So I'll put it down until I have that one piece I was looking for. And now I'm actually in that situation right now where I found that missing piece and I picked something back up. And so now I'm cold calling for this real estate company out of Detroit. And I'm actually putting myself in this very uncomfortable situation, but I'm thriving right now because I want it to succeed. I want it to make it happen. So I'm actually there's a saying that says a comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. And I'm definitely stepping outside of my comfort zone, making these cold calls to people I have no idea who I'm talking to. But I'm giving it my very best. So that's definitely my glow. And then my grows, I have two. Number one would be like really embracing being proud of the fact that I'm retired. I kind of shy away from telling people, hey, I'm retired when people ask like, hey, what do you do? I'm retired. But it's just because I get these funny looks, but understanding like, hey, like you worked hard to get to this position. So you should be proud and happy for where you're at in life, pretty much. And then also my other growth would be like I've been reading a lot and I came across this book that was hella inspiring. And it really like I've been like teeter-tottering. I know my purpose, but I haven't really been walking on my purpose or like really focused on my purpose. And so this book really put into alignment like, hey, go for it, give it your best. So now I'm in a process of like getting my ducks in a row to get my financial literacy business up and rolling. So that's definitely a grow and just really walking in my purpose unapologetically. So that's definitely a grow.
Hold on, I don't want to interrupt you, Bree, but I just want to, she retired, right? That's why she the golden child. If you were my family, I'd be like, shut up, Bree talking. What? Right? Who said you can speak? Heavy-footed. Cold. That just so much love and respect, right? To speak something into existence. And I think me, like Zuri, Kamau, we're all nodding because we know what you cut like to be able to be, because a lot of people talk that dream, but to live it and be able to speak it. Ooh, one of them ones. Thank you. I think I interrupted you before the soundtrack to your Glow and Grow.
Yeah. Okay, so my soundtrack. So I got two. So I got Larry June, Organic Miracles. I'm on my way to the top. Hey, and then I got Alicia Myers. I want to thank you. Like that's the one song I play every single day, and I know if it randomly comes on the shuffle, it's gonna be a good, great, fantastic, phenomenal day. So those are definitely my two soundtracks right now.
Certified GOAT. My grow is analogous to the saying, heavy is the head that wears the crown. It's been a heavy period for me, very heavy. Heavy in the sense that I am realizing I'm the chosen one. I already knew it. I think I embraced it. And I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like, I'm the chosen one. Heavy is the head that wears it, though. Like, it's heavy. The burden is heavy. The load is heavy. It's a lot. And I think it sounded cool. It looked cool. Like, it had all the appeal to it, but the pressure is real. It's super real. And it's a growing space in my life because like, it's you for me, like, I find myself growing in my life where, like, I get to a place of what was hard now becomes comfortable, but then, like, the bar just keeps getting moved up, and it just keeps getting moved up, and the weight keeps getting, and you're like, damn, like, how am I even doing this right now? Like, we benching 400 pounds. Like, what the hell? Like, but then it's like 450, and that's what a good trainer does, right? Like, if you've ever worked out with a trainer, a good trainer is going to put more on there and be like, no, you can actually do more. And that's what life is doing to me right now. It's like, no, you can do more. More is required, sir. And and I'm pushing the weight, but it's hard. It's a lot of pressure. In terms of the glow, I mean, that's the other side of it. Is like, I feel proud of myself. Like, bro, like, holy fuck, like, you're doing this thing. And I'm really being forced to live in the moment, in the sense, like, every day I wake up and it's just like it's a race to run. Like, there's stuff in front of you, is you got to get after it. And I kind of feel like what I almost feel like what dads feel like, but without having kids. Because, like, dads get up and it's like, hey, I got to get after it. I got mouths to feed. Like, I got bills to pay. Like, I got things to move forward. If I don't move, we don't move. And if I don't move, we go down. And I feel like that right now. It's definitely like, I wake up with if you don't move, things go down, and things aren't going down when you're at the helm of the ship. So I'm proud of myself, but it's a lot too.
No. That soundtrack, we need that.
Yeah, that's Surf by Mac Miller. It's been a super vibe. I think in spaces like this, I need something that's gonna massage my ears. Like, I like the turn up stuff. I like a bunch of different stuff, but I am in need of vibes. Like, I need to be in that space, So this Surf by Mac Miller, especially like the last 2 minutes of the song, it's not even vocals. It's just vibes.
And man, like, Zuri, what's coming to my mind in this whole episode? Zuri, you said a word twice, genuality. And I'm like, is this a word? And I'm like, it is now. Because I was looking it up. I was like, it is now. The ability to be genuine, right? And if we need a name for the episode, let me go ahead and throw in my pitch, because that thing is cold. And that's what we did this episode, right? The ability to be genuine, to be open, to be transparent. Yes. I just appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for this space, for being able to be vulnerable with y'all. For, I don't know, every time we come on here, it's like a breath of fresh air. So thank you for breathing with us. Like, this fed my soul. I think we all need a little bit of this today. And yeah, thank you.
Hey, do y'all mind if I like, let's the scene right quick with some motivation as we exit?
Please.
Hey,
run it.
All right. Do you wanna be happy? If your answer is yes, you gotta stop looking for happiness and joy in the same place you lost it. Because what sense does it make looking back when you have so much to look forward to? Let's hit it, Tunji.
Let's get it. Hey, so I'll say this. I'll say this, if no one else told you today, like Bree just told you, the reality is you are loved by us. And may every pivot you have in life, and know that you will have them, may every pivot be followed by a proceed. You are loved. Until next time, it's us.
Peace.